I recently bought myself a Jnat to try out, and right about the same time, my buddy Seth Wright was talking about getting into Jnats, and I introduced him on Instagram to this sharpener that I kind of ran across just stumbling through sharpening videos. Her name is on Instagram, sharpestgirl, I think LTW or something along those lines. I will have a link to her in the description. She has a sharpening business where she sharpens a lot of Japanese style knives, and she's really into Jnats. So I pointed Seth to her so he could ask some questions, and she sent him these two stones to try out. After talking to him, I kind of mentioned that I wouldn't mind getting my hands on them too to give them a whirl, but I kind of left it at that. I wasn't really, super serious about it. Well, he contacted her, and she was cool with him sending them to me. So I got these two stones now to play with. Once I'm done, of course, I'm going to be sending them back to her. If I'm not mistaken, this stone here is called an Oochie, and this stone is basically just a Suita with Renge, and what I understand Renge is just the purple that's inside the stone. Looks like a lotus flower or something along those lines. Guys, I know nothing about Jnats, so please forgive my ignorance. This is all brand spanking new to me. So if I'm pronouncing this stuff incorrectly, or if I'm getting this information incorrect, again, forgive me. Feel free to comment below and set me straight. I'm not against learning. Anyway, from what he told me, this stone is a little difficult to kind of get the hang of, and this stone is kind of like a no-brainer. You can just go on autopilot, and this will kind of give you the finish and polish that you're really looking for on your knife. The thing about Jnats on knives like this, wide bevels with a core steel and an outer cladding, is when you sharpen them, the polish that you want is kind of hazy and cloudy, which will show you a definition line between the core steel, the hard steel, and the softer outer cladding steel. Many synthetics won't give you that kind of hazy polish, but they will actually give you a bright luster. Now, with sharpening cutlery, pocket knives, and that sort of thing, that's kind of what I go for. I'm looking for that high luster. With a Japanese kitchen knife like this, you want the exact opposite. You want to get a cloudy, hazy finish on the core, on the outer steel, but you do, well, it's personal preference, but you do want to get a higher luster on the core steel. And these natural stones will help you achieve that. The edges, from what I understand, can't be compared to, a synthetic, just like, Arkansas stones and any natural stone for that matter. You have to judge them. You have to judge each stone separately. They're all natural. They're all different. You have to find the ones that kind of work for you. All that being said, we're going to go ahead and get started. The way he explained it to me, this green Oochie stone, the stone will start to absorb water quickly, but once you kind of develop a slurry and work it, that slurry kind of settles into the stone and prevents the stone from absorbing so much. Now, I've also got two Nagara stones. I've got a Tanjo and a Mejuro. I may experiment around with those, because I'm going to try both stones out. I want to see what kind of polish they give on my knife. I'm not really worried about the edge so much tonight as I am just the core polish, but we will go ahead and actually sharpen the main edge as well, just to see what it's like. I'm not expecting fireworks or anything spectacular out of this. It is a natural stone, and you got to learn them. You got to do your diligence, and you've got to learn what the stone can do versus your expectations. And this stone will absorb some water, like he said. So I'm just going to kind of let it sit there for a moment. Just to see what it does. So what I want to do here is I'm going to lay the knife flat on this main cutting bevel that separates the core steel from the cladding. I'm going to just slightly give a little bit of pressure going towards the edge. Not enough to actually raise the knife, but enough to keep it from falling over that line. I don't want it to cross that shinogi line, or I mean, it's not clearly defined like a straight road or anything, but I want to try to preserve it as well as I can. I don't know if you can see this, but the edges are definitely starting to dry out now, so the stone is starting to absorb some water. So let me shut up talking and get started. I had a pretty good patina going on, and of course this is going to take that right off. I'm not sure how well that's going to pick up for you. So that patina is coming off, most definitely. Holding it directly on the stone, it still wants to roll just a little bit. So I'm not really seeing, well, I guess it is. The stone is so dark, it's hard to see the slurry on it, but it's forming, it's coming along. It sounds like there's something scratchy on it. I don't know if that's the stone or if I've got a piece of contamination on it. I'm just going to keep working it and hope it doesn't affect my polish in a detrimental way. The core steel is definitely brightening up. Looks like I'm kind of biting through quite a bit of my outer cladding on this side. So I'm going to go ahead and switch sides. Oftentimes with these styles of knives, I see guys sharpen them head on like this. And for me, that's just not the most comfortable. It's just not the most comfortable way to sharpen. So I tend to either turn the stone so I get a better angle on it like this, or I just deal with the fact I've got to twist my wrist and come in at this angle. Just works better for me. As with all things sharpening, you got to find what works for you. I think I had a little piece of napkin on there. I'm going to use my Tanjo. I don't know if this is going to improve things, make them worse. We'll find out. So I got a healthy slurry on there now. Let's see what kind of difference, if any, this makes. And I guess I could have used a diamond plate and brought up the slurry from the stone itself. As far as pressure goes, I'm using the same amount of pressure I always use, which is just the weight of my hand. I'm not adding anything additional, which for natural stones might be incorrect. You may need to apply more pressure to get them started. Again, this is all new to me, so I'm not real sure how these things behave or what's right and what's wrong. Okay, adding the slurry on there, I can definitely see it's cloudier. A little water on here. Okay, I think I'm done playing with the polish. Now, I'm going to go ahead and put an edge on the knife. And I sharpen this one usually around 20 degrees, give or take. I've got it pretty thin behind the edge, so keeping it around 20 degrees gives it a little bit more stability. I find if I don't do that, I get really nasty warps and rolls, and the occasional chip. Alright, I am back to the green Oochie stone. Got an edge, finally, put back on this knife. I'm not going to tell you what all I had to do. Suffice it to say, it took 3 stones. This thing did not want to get an edge back on it. So that hazy, cloudy polish is poking through. And then the core steel has a bit of a shine to it. I've got quite a bit of my core still poking through on this guy. I may have thinned it a little too much. And then we've got the actual edge bevel. Curious to see what kind of results we get. So the final result came out to 109. This is a Suita with Renge. Seth told me this stone was kind of like a no-brainer, that you didn't have to work at it like the Oochie stone. You could just kind of put it on autopilot and get the results you want. So first things first, I'm just going to hit the main bevel. Now this one feels a little harder. Definitely removing steel much quicker. Let me see if I can get these scratches going all in the same direction. I could definitely say I like the feel of this stone way more than that green Oochie stone. And I must say, I like the scratch pattern and the haze finish it's given much more. I'm going to do with this one like I did the other one. I'm going to put a little slurry. Just to see if anything changes. Now that's a much better polish. That slurry really helped define the two steels. Go just a little bit longer before I decide to sharpen the edge. I'm not going to cut the edge off because I had such an issue last time. I'm just going to go over what we already have. One. One level 5. $80. So the final result for this one was 92. I think the results are close enough that I'm getting about the same kind of edge off both stones. Although the Suita felt nicer to use, that's, as far as the edge goes, really the only difference. Like all natural stones, as I said previously, they all behave differently, and you have to work the stone and just learn what you got. So I'm going to bring you down, we'll take a look at this bevel, and call this a wrap. So this is off the Suita. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed this. I'm going to have to play with these stones a whole lot more before I can really form an opinion. Right now, I really don't see anything spectacular about them, even with the polish. Sure, they give a Kasumi finish, but I can achieve pretty much the same thing on a synthetic. So it may not be the stones, but me. If you guys have any tips, I would love to hear them. Leave them down in the comments. Thanks for watching. Y'all have a good one.